Shit.
Oh, shit.
Hello, everybody. My name is Master Chen.
My name is BGM.
This is Doxy.
And I'm Richard Satchel. Damn, I fucked up.
And you are listening to Grey Noise. All right, everybody. Welcome to Grey Noise, the Information Security Podcast. This is episode 106. We are here live 10 minutes later than 7:30, but it is time for the show. We are here at Sin Shop, 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in Henderson, Nevada. We are still the Las Vegas Valley Hackerspace. And the reason why I look that way is because, as you can see, the president of the shop is here hanging out with us today. Hey, Crux.
Howdy.
All right. Well, before we get into it, go to sinshop.org for more information on the shop. Go to meetup.com/sinshop for more information on our classes and some upcoming events, which, by the way, this Monday we have the Lockpick Night. I've advertised the hell out of it, and I'm expecting about 15 to 20 people. So
nice.
This is going to be a good one. This is going to be, like I said, I was waiting for after the whole DEF CON craziness, and now we can really promote the other stuff too. So that's great, but we'll get into that later. And for more information on us, go to GREYNOISE, GREYNOI.se. Let's see, does anybody have anything to say before we get into some of the discussions? What's new with you guys? I don't see you guys like not but once a week.
New No Man's Sky update.
Oh yeah. You know what?
You guys know that
I was
stuff.
talking about that with Doxy earlier today, actually.
I was really disappointed. I think we talked about this before. I was really disappointed when the game first came out because I bought into the hype. I was really excited for it, and I played it, and it was the most it was very chill.
Yeah.
It was the most pointless game I've ever played in my entire life. There's no reason for me to play unless you just wanted to travel through space, I guess, which is cool in and of itself.
That's what I'm saying.
But apart from that, it had no end goal. There's no point to be playing.
It's just like a free play, do whatever you want in this universe.
You don't really do anything.
You
just
don't
fly
do it.
around.
You explore
forever.
stuff.
So it's like a big ass sandbox.
Even everything you do is inconsequential. So you pick up you mine for whatever
Material,
resources. You mine for resources.
Yeah.
And yeah, whatever you mine for resources, you do shit, whatever. But it got boring very fast. But it was very chill. If you just want to fly through space for a couple hours and do nothing,
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But other than that, there was no point to play it. But now with all these updates, I'm pretty excited to play it, actually.
I got to be honest with you, though. Actually, not having a point to play it was something I really liked about the game.
Just
because
a sandbox?
I'm just going to hop in this ship and I'm going to see what's over there.
Which, you know what? I would have actually liked, except for that it was so hard to find. Well, not that hard, but I didn't put a lot of effort into it to find your resources to actually fly your ship. Because to take off, you needed a specific resource. If you couldn't find it, you would die on that planet. And you didn't die and respawn at a base. You just died and you respawned at that same exact spot. And you had to go find resources. It's very hard to find them. And then you could just never leave the planet.
And there's no originating spot to spawn in?
No, you just spawn wherever you died, and then you die again because you can't find the mineral, that one specific thing you need to boost your ship off the planet. So I thought that was kind of tedious. But other than that, totally cool.
Hit Q and look for plutonium.
Was it plutonium? Yeah. Well, I didn't play on PC. I played on PS4. I don't know what the corresponding button was.
Okay. The
And
scanner button. Yeah.
It wasn't. It sounds very easy, but it wasn't that easy. I guarantee
enough,
it wasn't
yeah.
that easy.
If you land on the wrong planet, it gets really hard to find.
Or like just like in the wrong spot on the because there's plutonium on every planet. I'm pretty sure if you land in the wrong spot, it can take forever to find it, and you'd be dead by then. So, but I'm very excited for the new stuff that's coming.
It's pretty awesome.
There's like space battles now.
Oh, yeah.
And you can actually play with other people.
Yeah.
You can explore together. There's actual multiplayer.
Right.
You can like set up bases and stuff and do like scavenging. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We'll
It's
see.
nice.
I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up again. I got rid of it like the week after I bought it, but we'll see.
See, I had this huge base set up, and all this stuff is probably going way too into depth. But anyway, I had this huge base set up. I come back today, and they regenerated the universe. So my base was there, but the planet I was on was completely different.
That's pretty cool, though.
So yeah,
that's pretty. I mean, and I do like that. I do like every planet you go to is like kind of different. Like they're all different and whatever, and the different animals and whatnot. But I don't like that you can't do like the animals are just there.
Yeah.
You can't collect them or anything.
Sure you can.
Whatever. Can you? Can you now? You couldn't at first.
What?
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's
Okay.
not bad.
Okay. See, you know, I might want to play it again now. I'm kind of into it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was upset when it first came out and they didn't really do anything that they promised. Like there was no multiplayer. There was no real ending. They said, oh, something big will happen if you make it to the center of the universe. But if you made it to the center of the universe, the game just reset and you start all over.
Yeah.
You got like a 4-minute long music video.
The fuck you ending.
I was very annoyed by that. So I was like, oh, you get to middle planet like a secret or something. I also don't like, and we're getting way too in depth, but I didn't like how there's different aliens, and to learn the language of the aliens, you find it word by word on different planets that you go to. Oh, like extremely annoying.
Like those walls in Skyrim where you learn a dragon word, a Dovahkiin word.
Is it? Yeah. But it's like you have to go to the planet, you have to find a specific pillar. That pillar gives you one word like trash. And then you got to go to another planet. It was a whole thing.
Well, there's usually 3 of them in a group, like around each other.
Was there?
Yeah.
Maybe was it at? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Still
a
not
video
a-
gamer.
So Doxy mentioned the animals and the enemies that you encounter on the planets. Those animals and enemies, Chen, were randomly generated as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get really hilarious animals.
Like it's like a giant T-Rex with butterfly wings and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
The hopping pineapples were always my favorite.
I don't think I'll play this game, but I'll probably watch some gameplay
You know
on
what?
YouTube or
I
something.
actually think you would love it.
Really?
In all honesty,
Yeah.
I think you would love it.
Honestly, with the new update, it actually makes me want to buy it because the new update brings it's pretty much now what they promised the game would be after the last 3 updates, including this one, because this one brings multiplayer in, but it's
and portals
it's not,
work now.
Oh, portals work now.
Oh yeah, you can tell.
But it's not like persistent fly side by side with wingmen multiplayer. It's something more akin to like Dark Souls, where you can communicate with other players.
Well, so now with this new update, there's up to 16 people can see where each other are. You can't see them. There's like a floating orb where that person is.
Oh.
So you can't see them.
So you can't.
But you can chat and you can work together.
Can you like party up with someone? Like if we're gonna party together, can we do? Oh, that's
That
pretty
makes
cool.
sense because I remember there was when the game first came out, somebody modified the game or did something and was able to zoom out and found that there was no model rendered for the ship at all on the outside. Or
Oh,
I'm sorry,
it
not
was
the
just a control
person.
panel.
There was no model for the person rendered.
Oh yeah.
So it's like a floating thing, or like it was like a.
It was just a camera.
there, yeah.
It was just a camera.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a world of just headless cameras that are floating about.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Basically.
But I'm kind of excited. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get into it again, but with all the updates, I'm interested.
Yeah, the
I'm interested
Pathfinder
now.
update, which is the last one, gives you cars.
Yes, that's
And
yeah.
that's so worth
Yeah,
it.
these updates make it seem like it's more the game they promised.
Because I can't tell you how fucking annoying it was to walk across a planet.
Yeah.
Jesus
So
Christ.
what that tells me though is that last year, because it's a year ago today that the game came out. So a year ago today they ran out of money.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly
so-
what
No,
yeah,
they ran out of time with Sony.
They ran out of money. They ran out of time. So they're like, we have to release it now. And then they decided to get the full game, the one that they promised, through patches.
So Sony basically held them to their release date because people would get pissed off on the internet, and so they were like, "No, you have to release it." Okay, well they released
But
it.
I wouldn't
mean,
get
I mean,
pissed off, though, if I
people-
was like,
people
okay,
on the
well, here's
internet
this
wouldn't get
game, it's
angry
like a
at
skeleton
anything
of
else.
the game that
Yeah.
we promised.
Well, I mean, that's what it's like in the games industry now, because the publisher doesn't know what they're doing. The publisher is just like, I see the bottom line, and the bottom line is cash and time. That's what we promise, and we want the cash, and we want those people to buy the game. We don't care if it's good right now.
especially for a no-name dev like Hello
Games.
Hello
Yeah.
Games. They're like we're at the maximum hype right now. Get it out, and we'll get whatever we can get from it. So I mean, it worked out for them because I'm assuming they're using this money they got now to flesh out the game.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. But I don't want that model for every game. I don't want you to say we're going to give you this entire world. They give you a box, and then they eventually expand it. Fuck that.
I mean, honestly, on the very first release day, they gave you a universe.
Absolutely.
They promised you a universe, and they gave you one.
They gave you a full game. It just wasn't a game worth playing.
Because the problem with that is there are already universe simulator games out there, like Elite Dangerous. That's a full universe in the game. But
Or
that's
Minecraft.
more game than No Man's Sky was at the time.
Yeah.
Minecraft is a universe. Just, hey, build your house.
More of a planet.
No,
So-
Minecraft is a planet.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the universe of the game.
So No Man's Sky was definitely like
I'm not a gamer.
it was a full game, but it just wasn't a game worth playing. It definitely not for the full price of $60. If they would have reached like 30, like an early access, like $30 early access, whatever, like every other game seems to do, totally fine, perfect.
Yeah.
But now when they release it, no,
I'm saying I should ask you guys how you're doing more often.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna
No, I'm saying, I asked you guys how you're doing, and it's just like, bam, No Man's Sky.
but
Minutes in the show.
yeah.
No, I'm just, all right.
Long story short, I'm interested in playing No Man's Sky again. I'd be down to try it out
It
again.
should, 3/4 of us hosting today are avid gamers.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't actually played No Man's Sky. But
yeah, I did.
But
and
I never played
But
No
I
Man's
did play Elite Dangerous.
I
which
like
was
Elite
good,
Dangerous a lot,
except
and I
you
love the
kind of
VR
have to learn
support,
how to
too.
fly a ship.
I think Chernobyl told me about Elite Dangerous, but I talked about No Man's Sky. I think he said it was like the better version of it, but it was also an early access, right?
Elite Dangerous
No,
is
it's
more.
been out for a while.
Oh, maybe
But
not.
It's
Yeah,
like
no.
full on like flight simulator. Like
Yeah,
you
it's
need
more
to get, like
in-depth.
the flight stick and
No,
the
actually,
throttle
that'd be kind of fun.
The
I think.
coolest thing, though, if you play it on PC, is you can link it up to this program called Voice Attack, and you can control your ship via voice commands, and you feel like you're actually in Star Trek.
shit,
it's super
son.
cool. Like I could say, computer, play space music, and then it would queue up. Like the computer would say affirmative, and then it would queue up the final countdown by
Does it
Europe.
play reggae?
No, Chad.
It play whatever you want,
it
man.
can't. No, not reggae.
Reggae's
Except for
banned.
reggae.
Oh,
evidently.
well, okay. I had to ask.
You know, it's
You guys
really
know
cool.
the
It's the most
glitch
immersive
just
thing,
doesn't
especially if you
work.
have the VR headset on. It's the most immersive space simulator ever, and it's a real like galaxy. It takes a long time to fly to different planets.
So simulators are like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Simulators are cool at first. So I got into this game because, like, ever since I was a kid, loved trains. Couldn't get enough trains. I've stayed this game on Steam, CSX Heavy Hauler, and it's actually by the company that CSX is a shipping and cargo company, and they have trains in their system, and it is a full-on train sim. I mean, you got to set the brakes and the throttle and the things and the stuff and junk, and I could probably get into a train, a real physical train. If it's like a GE S40, I could probably drive the fucker. Like, it's that
Man,
much
dude,
of a simulation.
You know your trains.
I know that train. I know that train. After driving it for most of a Saturday, because real-time train operation is really freaking boring.
Yeah, which is strange. Why people like long haul simulator
Yeah.
and like all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird. Like I would never do that in real life, but I'm like, oh, I'll drive a truck all across America or whatever.
Right,
It's
yeah.
really very strange. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm into it, but whatever. So that's it.
I like American Truck Simulator.
Yeah.
I played it once. It was not bad.
I would never.
like it?
I would never do that in real life, but in a game, absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Desert
Yeah.
Bus.
love-
There's a driving game.
I love
I
how
couldn't think of the name of that Penn and Teller one.
I love how they penalized me for driving over the speed limit.
It's really real.
The instant.
Oh my
tickets.
god,
Yeah.
this is so amazing. Because all I had to do is say, "How are y'all doing?"
I'm fine.
I'm good.
No, it's
It's
funny.
kind of nice actually getting like sleep
It's
after
funny.
DEF CON.
Yeah. All right. Oh, is this for the news? Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll take that one. All right. So for those of you who don't know, last week we really have come to the conclusion that arstechnica.com/security has become kind of clickbaity, or they only update 3 articles in a week before we're starting to repeat our sources. So we're gonna try a new site today.
I'll post you the link on ours.
Cool. When the link, when the time comes around for the lightning round, we'll try a new site and see how that works. So
Dope.
if you want us to use your site for news, please just don't be clickbaity. We want to talk about the headlines that you won't believe number 5. Well, I don't know, maybe we will without having to click it. Anyway, all right. So shall we say it's time for maybe the main topic?
Yeah, I'm done talking about games.
Do it.
Unless you want
No,
to talk about
no,
games
it's cool.
more.
I mean,
You guys
how
ready?
was the new Overwatch update?
It's dope. Oh, good. Overwatch is dope, man.
Satchel.
Dude, the new
Tell me
Minecraft
about those Roadhog changes.
Wait,
Roadhog
Minecraft?
Roadhog is viable in the meta again. Is all I'm
No,
gonna say
so
about
what's
it.
funny is you can ask Doxy a question about games, or even like let's say anime as an example.
I like anime.
and or even DC Comics or Marvel, whatever, and he will go on a diatribe for like an hour and a half.
Impossible. I've never talked that long in my entire life.
No, the only reason why you stop is because you find out that we have you on camera.
You son of
Also,
a
to
bitches.
take a drink or eat something.
I'm always hungry. That is true.
All
This
right.
is the only times he stops.
Like, well, that's how you get him to stop. Though, is like you pull out your cell phone and you just aim it at him, and then he's like, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" Like he realized that he's on camera. Well, besides this one, you know, and then he'll just shut up.
Like,
yeah, see, there you
like
go.
an hour and 15 minutes,
Oh,
and then
Pete,
somebody
sorry.
walks in with like sushi, and he's like, "Ah, sushi," and then that's it. That's it.
Ooh.
Let's get sushi.
See, there
All right,
you go.
all right. I'm ready for the topic.
Let's do this.
All right, so
Here
the
we
main
go.
topic. Now, I'm not trying to do another review of DEF CON because that's not what this is about. But I'd like to bring up a topic that I've kind of observed or realized when we were there, and I think Crux has kind of observed it too. I'd like to get your thoughts on this. But I noticed Friday night when I was at Hacker Jeopardy, right? So one of the topics was hacker history oriented, like do you know these acronyms of like, you know, LOD, MOD, you know, Legion of Doom, Masters of Deception, etc. Right? And the people on stage did not know the answers. And so this kind of, it's not that you have to know this trivial knowledge per se, but my question or my thought is, are we, okay, so I would assume that we can all kind of consider ourselves somewhat veterans in the field or veterans in the, like.
I'm a baby.
Okay, well, fair enough. Whatever you want to call yourself. But like green newbies, they don't know this this culture that is kind of surrounds the whole hacker scene, right? Or the hacker community, however you want to phrase it. So is that the newbies? And I don't mean this derogatory. They're newbies, right? Is it the newbies' fault that they don't know the culture, or is it a mentor or a veteran's fault that they're not sharing the culture? So where is it kind of? I want your thoughts on this stuff.
I think it's honestly, I think part of the problem, not the whole problem, but part of the problem is the holier than thou attitude that a lot of the people have.
Right, and we
where-
discussed this like what 3 weeks ago.
We
Well, I
talked
mean,
about
you
that.
experienced. You talked about it last week a little bit. You experienced it with one of the parties you went to, where they were so exclusive that they were like shunning people who were veterans in the industry, like out because they weren't wearing like a certain thing or they weren't like carrying a certain thing. That
Which
you know.
party was this?
I'd like to not say that actually
Okay,
on the
all right.
podcast, but we could talk about that after. And that was just something I've observed. I just don't want to, you know, I don't want to mention them because it is what it is, you know. But
He wants to go to the parties.
no, it's,
Oh yeah, that's understandable.
well, it is understandable, but that's not why I don't want to mention it. It's just, you know what I mean. But no, seriously though, BGM brings up a good point. It's like 3 weeks ago, so the week before DEF CON, we were talking about, and I even named the title of that episode, elitist or the elitist, right? So it's like, are we too elite to help the newcomers, you know, come up? Or like, and I don't think that I am, but I feel like
Well, I mean,
it's,
so
I think we're
the
mutually,
the whole reason why we started this podcast to begin with, you and I, was to spread the word to people who are interested but not necessarily knowledgeable in the industry.
Right.
That was the whole reason why we started this podcast. I don't think that's elitist. We're trying to bring these people up to speed.
right. No,
Yeah.
and I totally agree with you. I'm saying, again, I'm kind of stepping back and observing, and what I saw at Hacker Jeopardy, I'm wondering, is it the newbies' fault for not understanding the history, where it came from? You know, do they know what a PDP-11 is? Do they? And they don't have to know how to operate the damn thing, but they kind of need. I would say that they need to know history, no, or culture, or where it all comes from.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I think it's up to you to research and learn about things, but you also people should tell others about this cool old history or whatever topic it is that you happen to be an expert in. So.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's fine. So I don't come from the hacker subculture, but once upon a time I was in another subculture that was very similar to this. And one thing that you have to realize when you get to a certain age is the people following behind you, they don't care about they couldn't care less about who Captain Crunch was or why it matters. They don't care.
I agree.
Most
You
of
know,
the
Yeah, you run
technology
into
is
that
gone
too.
now.
Huh?
You
Yeah.
run into that too.
Absolutely.
Well-
and it's not even necessarily that that's a bad thing, because when you first got into it, were you necessarily researching what scientists worked on ENIAC? I mean, maybe you were.
I mean,
not the
once you got
person.
to a
you could
specifically.
get the fun stories like, oh, the first bug was in ENIAC and it was a literal bug.
It was a literal bug, yeah. You
But-
can get to that kind of stuff, but you didn't really like soak it in that much to where you were like, oh my god, I gotta find out more about ENIAC.
Yeah.
It was just something that took up a half of a building, and
Well, see that
I agree.
you do bring up a good point. Is like unless you care about it, you're not going to study it. I personally care about history in general. Like I study,
Sure.
Robert Greene and all these other authors who specifically talk about history. So I'm not even talking about hacking at this point. I'm talking about just general history I am interested in.
Yeah.
So maybe it is kind of like a personal thing, personal choice, sure. But do you think that people are handicapped by maybe not knowing even a smidget of
I don't think
history?
so. I don't think so because we're in an age of instant gratification, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to learn the things that matter the most to them as quickly as they can.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of gauge how important it is to know the information. Like,
Yeah.
is it important for me to understand how punch card coding worked as a programmer? No,
Right.
because that's never going to come back again. I know that it existed at one point, but to understand it is not anything that will benefit me in the future.
Right, but like I don't know how it works, but I know that it was there. I know kind of like the origin story of the MIT hackers and the trains and the locksmithing before there was a term hacker.
Yeah, but those are fun anecdotes. Those are not those are not required history. Those are just things that you'll pick up along the way. Just
but I'm not-
anecdotal stuff,
Yeah.
like the first webcam, the first bug. Just
And-
things like that. You don't
yeah.
need to know the specifics really.
And I feel like you have to. It also depends on your role. So I mean, in a lot of things, you're more in a teaching capacity, right?
Well, yeah, I do come from teaching background.
You do a lot of teaching. You do a lot of speaking at conferences. You do a lot of educating in general. So it behooves you to know this kind of stuff for anecdotal purposes, or just because if someone's interested in networking but they don't know a lot about it, you can use the stories to talk about certain things that happen, or VoIP even. So it suits you more as opposed to someone who only works in the industry, because who are they going to talk to it about? Why do they care? Really, it doesn't matter for their contemporaries
Right,
or whatever.
and Doxy, you do bring up a good point. I'm interested in it. Again, the history, and you're right, I do come from a teaching background, or I am talking on presentations or stages or whatever. And so I get it. I get exactly what you're saying.
And that's not a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing that you know it. I mean, it's something you're interested in.
Right.
People just have to, there's so much out there now, you kind of have to, and you were there a lot for a lot of it, more or less.
Calling you
right?
old, goddammit?
No, I'm saying, but you've been around for a while. Like, you've been to what? How many DEF CONs?
That was my 14th last.
14 DEF CONs. A lot of people are just going to their first or second one, like me. So you've been there for a lot of the history and whatnot, Crux as well. You guys have been there. So that's a part of your history as well. So it's different for people who are just like experience it from outside the glass.
And
Do you remember any of the questions from Hacker Jeopardy this year, by the way? I wonder if I can answer some of these.
A few.
'cause,
Okay,
I mean,
so let's use some. Okay, so I can't remember how they termed the topic or the column, but it was basically they would give you these three letter acronyms. What did they stand for, right? So LOD.
Legion of Doom.
Okay, cool, right? MOD.
Legion of Doom.
I was gonna say messages of the day. Messages of the day.
No,
See,
Well,
You
that's
just-
it.
MOTD.
There you go.
I said it
yeah.
at the beginning of this whole topic, right?
Muppets of Destruction.
Masters of.
Masters of
Deception.
Deception.
Damn, I had it
Okay,
right there.
what about CCC? Now this one
oh,
should
the
be
Chaos Computer Club.
right.
I
It
know
should be
that
easier
one.
because that's still a conference going on in Germany, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's just an example, right? These are collectives or groups of hackers that have come up, like 70s, 80s, or maybe even earlier. But practically none of that column was answered by who was on stage. There were a couple of them that were answered by the audience, so they got swag and whatnot. That was cool. I was jumping up and down for one of them, but they didn't. They picked somebody on the other
You're
side.
too emphatic. Too much going on.
Pick me, pick me. No,
Exactly.
I know. Yeah. No, okay, so
he wants it too badly. Let's ignore him.
Right. Now, the flip side of that, though, is it's very easy for someone who's been in a scene for a long time to be like, those dadgum whippersnappers, because it's like, I spent so many hours uploading that thing with my 2400 baud modem. It's got to be worth something, but
Yeah.
it's not.
And
it just isn't.
It was a long time ago, but it's not relevant anymore.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Think about, and you guys can debate me on this if you want. I know you will. I know you will. Okay. So, for example, right, the Captain Crunch whistle. So we know who Captain Crunch is because of what he discovered, and what he discovered is that you blow the whistle into the receiving end of the phone,
payphone.
Of the payphone. Yes.
A payphone, by the way, was like a telephone like your parents used to have on the wall, but you put money in it.
No, but so
Ching.
So it was 2600 hertz that took over mechanical switching. Back when mechanical switching was a thing, and so the history kind of explains how the technology works. So you kind of get this why and this how together.
Yeah, but that technology doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, none of it matters.
None of it matters for anything, I would argue.
Okay, I don't have to know Morse code, but we needed it for like the mystery challenge. You see what I'm saying?
No,
Morse code is still relevant.
It's
though.
still in use.
Yeah, it is.
You still use Morse code.
Oh, so I guess
I'm
the only one who doesn't have a ham license.
Who uses a payphone anyway? Could you even? There are no payphones anymore.
Yeah.
There are. Where's my 2600?
The ones that do exist though, they were patched because of Captain Crunch, what he did, and they've been patched since the 90s. So the ones that do exist no longer even have that
completely
flaw.
different phone system.
Yeah. This is the 90s.
Okay, so are we just saying then that the history of hacker culture is just not interesting to the newbies?
No. Well, okay.
Well, the history should be interesting, but you don't need to know like in depth about everything.
Yeah, I would say like
anecdotal
if you are a
stuff.
person that's into like phone stuff, then you would want to learn the history of phone phreaking because it's interesting.
Yeah.
If you're into old computers or whatnot, then you learn about ENIAC and all that stuff.
Right.
But
I'm into programming, so I read a lot about famous programmers from back in the day, like Margaret Hamilton, who coded a lot of the NASA.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, depending on your discipline, maybe you want to learn about that history and whatnot just because you're interested in it, but you can't learn about all of it. You can't learn. I mean, you could.
No,
you definitely could.
However, for something called Hacker Jeopardy, where you should be expected to be quizzed on obscure topics.
It is about
like that.
trivial knowledge. I totally get that. I just, I don't know. It was just for me. Okay, it was a weird feeling when maybe I feel like it should be known, and maybe I'm wrong.
You feel like the culture is disappearing because of noobs.
Well, no. Again, I'm not trying to use noobs in a derogatory way.
But I mean, it's easy. It's the easiest way to define it.
That's a big issue, though. If you're trying to hold on to an old culture in a field, especially a field where it's constantly changing, where it's constantly evolving. You can't say, oh, it was like this back in the day, or are we leaving them behind? You have to go with the flow. Go with them.
Yeah, there's so much information out there on a day-to-day basis, like stuff you have to learn and know and be aware of. It's extremely hard to keep all that old knowledge relevant while you're learning new stuff. I would think so.
Yeah.
Because I only know so much. I mean, we only have so much space for knowledge and memories and whatnot.
Speak for yourself, Doxy. No,
I don't have a super brain like Shin.
No, I understand what you guys are saying, and maybe you bring me back down to earth.
No, but on the flip side, I want to go back to
have to use compression. We got a vice in the back.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I want to go back to your elitism thing, and I think that
and I'm not saying that I'm trying to be elite, saying, I know this history and you don't. I'm thinking like, doesn't culture bring the community closer together? Like, doesn't it bring the newbies and the oldies together and say, hey, man, we have this together. Like, we have this thing. We have.
But they have their own
culture. It's interest that brings them together.
Yeah.
They have their own. I'm sorry to.
No.
They have their own back in the day. You realize that, right? Like in the scene I used to be in, the back in the day, for some people, is when other people were writing it off as, this is old news. Whatever. Who cares? Everything's changed. Everything sucks now. But then 5 years later, those people are like, man, I remember back in those days. It was awesome.
And it's not culture that brings the hacker community together. It's interest.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a young baby hacker who's interested in programming and only going to know C# or Python. And then there's the old hacker
Ruby,
who's also interested in programming who knows Fortran, who knows BASIC. I mean, there is a gap there in knowledge, but they're not necessarily they're seeing eye to eye still.
Yeah.
In terms of interest.
Right. Fair point.
Now, one thing you mentioned.
Wait, no. I'm sorry. You brought up groupies. Did you feel like there are a
Who
lot
said
of
groupies?
Crooks did?
He said Ruby.
I said Ruby.
Oh, never mind. I'll take that completely back. I'm sorry. My bad.
Now, one thing you did mention about the people that were like elitism, like, you don't know such and such, so therefore I'm not going to associate with you. there is a big group of DEF CON where, it's accepted that people are noobs in things and they help each other and whatnot, but that's kind of, DEF CON's a weird conference because it's not just one conference, it's a bunch of sub-conferences all kind of jammed together.
It really
and
is.
so you do have the group of people that are frankly asshats, and you have the people that, are just there to party, and you have the people there that are interested in helping new people. And
Right. And you know what? I this year I definitely felt the mini conferences, right? Like DEF CON wasn't one big, I mean, it was one big thing, but like it was broken down, and I felt it this year. It was broken down into, the villages, and then the talks, and then the Sky Talks were, and
Wait,
then,
there's talks?
exactly. We didn't go to a single talk this year because we know it's going to be on YouTube later or whatever, but the point is everybody's doing something kind of related, but completely separate. I mean, talking literally different levels of the casino or the conference floor, right? So yeah, I get that. It's.
I mentioned it before, but you find a lot of those elitist people everywhere in our industry, and it's not just at DEF CON; it's everywhere.
Everywhere in every industry.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was
Because especially in programming, I see it a lot. Because there are a lot of people who are like, I know everything there is to know about programming. My way is the best way of doing it. You need to code your stuff the way that I'm coding my stuff.
Yeah,
but
a guy that I used to work with, and he no longer is with our company, but yeah, he was that way. It's like,
And there might have been a point where those people were top of the game, but they're so unwilling to learn, to admit that they don't know something, that they get left behind quickly. Because it changes really fast.
It does.
I was gonna say they lowered their knowledge, with newbies, they lowered their knowledge over them. Like, oh, you don't know about this, that, and the other. I'm not gonna tell you.
They get their little petty wins here.
Exactly.
And there, whatever.
This is privileged
reminds
knowledge.
me of the poem Ozymandias.
I had to work to find this, so you got to find it on your own.
Yeah, I knew a guy who's like his answer for everything was just read the fucking manual.
It reminds me of the poem Ozymandias. Look upon my works, you mighty in despair. And there's just the lord of sand and desert.
For the elders and the elitists, though, when they were discovering that information, they were discovering that information as it was new, right? And as soon as it's new and documented, the reason why you're telling somebody to read the fucking manual is because there is a fucking manual. Yeah. Where when Unix, and I'm using that as an example, when that first came out, the only documentation that was out was from official, Bell Labs documentation, right?
Okay.
But then when you have these other hackers that are figuring it out and finding loopholes or this way and that way to do things, then they write the manuals. So now there is a manual to fucking read, right? So read the fucking manual that now exists because the elders. So yeah, what I'm saying here is I think it's wrong for the elders to say, "Huh, you don't know that? Well, I had to look it up." Well, yeah, or I had to research this or do it myself. It's because there was nothing to research. There was no documentation.
The whole point of passing on knowledge is to learn something that wasn't known before and then pass that down so that it can be expanded upon and then grown.
Yeah.
Right. So is that, okay, so it kind of comes full circle, right? Is it on the newbies to seek out the mentors, or is it on the mentors to just be open enough to say, instead of RTFM, hey man, let me show you the door?
No,
you can go ahead.
I was gonna say if they show a willingness to learn, and they show if they show that they're not just like, hey, I have no idea about any of this, tell it to me from the ground up. Okay, they're being an asshole, I get that, but if they come to you with hey, I see this, that, and the other. I get this, but I want to know why it's done this way. Maybe you could tell me why it's done this way, or why people think it should be done this way, or whatever. I feel like it's just for discussion, and that's the best way to learn stuff, right? Is to go back and forth, the rubber ducky thing, which it does. It's not exactly the same thing, but
the USB rubber duck.
Exactly.
But it helps you expand your knowledge, and it's so much easier to get stuff in a conversation. Like if you're like, hey, I get that we run it this way because, but why? Why is this the best way, or why do you think this is the best way? Instead of just saying, this is it, this is the way it's done, this is it, this is your Bible, right? Because I can read the manual and set stuff up, but maybe we've learned something, or maybe somebody I work with knows something better.
Or the manual could be outdated.
Yeah, the manual, absolutely.
With
how fast technology changes, it could absolutely be outdated.
It's funny when you read as an example, you read the Awkman page, and it's like, oh, copyright, or it says the date of when it was published or when it was written by, and it's something in the last century, Yeah. I find that funny.
And I mean, it definitely be that, but if no one talks about it, just read the manual, you'll never get that additional knowledge that you need, or you never get, the other stuff, the extra stuff, not just the point by point, which I think is very important, especially in our field. Maybe other fields, I don't know, I don't work in those fields, but especially in our field.
No, fair point. and I'm
Actually,
not.
the awk manual or man page has been updated in 2014.
Oh, well,
shit.
oh, shit. Oh. I mean, but that was so 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost
No,
4.
Yeah, almost 4. I'm not trying to be. I wasn't trying to be a downer with this. I'm saying.
Are you an elitist, Shen?
No, I'm not. God damn it.
I know what to do.
I don't know shit. Are you kidding me? Like I realize every day that I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing at my job. So. Anyway, no, I'm not an elitist. I just I don't want. Maybe I find it important to know the history, and I just don't want important things to be lost. It's kind of like where I'm going with this.
I think.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's, so there's two different things. I think it's important for both parties to be willing to learn and, share information, newbies and seasoned veterans. I think it's very important for them to be like, hey, to share knowledge. And I think if you're in it, you should know the culture just so you're not ignorant, or the history rather. But I don't think it's a necessity, or I don't think you look bad because you don't know the history, as long as you're, capable, willing to learn stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it looks bad on you.
And so one of the interesting things, like I like doing like the puzzles and stuff, and so like you take like lost puzzles for example, he'll do things and he'll pick like a subject and delve into different areas on that. And so in order to solve the puzzle, you have to research these things that you don't know necessarily, and sometimes it's obscure pop knowledge that isn't actually useful for anything, but you actually learn like this whole history of stuff in the process, and that's interesting to do. So
Right.
Yeah, and for puzzles and trivia and whatnot, like especially for DEF CON purposes, I'm fine with that because it's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
That's all about the.
At DEF CON 18, I spent the entire time doing the Lost Challenge. The entire time.
And we
I
lost
didn't do
the
anything
we lost
else.
the Crux's team. Hey, and now we associate with the Psychoholics, so we're good.
I think for that stuff, it's fine. It's part of the. You're doing the trivia for fun. You want to learn stuff. I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was just my topic. But now that's unless anybody else has any thoughts. I know you guys had some phone stuff to bring up.
BJ was going to quiz me about something, or not
I wasn't
quiz.
gonna quiz.
Not going to quiz me, but you were going to tell me something.
He was going to give you
No.
a third degree.
he was going to
No,
school
so-
you on phone.
You're gonna read his
Well,
horoscope.
Not quiz me, but school me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sagittarius looking bad right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh,
Wait.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. What? The Sagittarius? I'm so
No, he
confused about that.
said I was going to read your horoscope.
No, we were guessing what he was going to do next, and I said you could read your horoscope.
Oh, I'm okay with that. Go for it.
There you go.
Sagittarius looking bad right now.
How's Libra?
No, so a couple of weeks ago, my girlfriend's phone died, and I gave her a new one. And
My condolences.
she wanted the data off her old one. So I grabbed the phone, and she never turned on USB debugging, so it was very hard for me to even get my computer to recognize it without it booting up. The only way I was able to get the computer to recognize it, because USB debugging wasn't enabled, it was an Android phone, it was an S3, it wouldn't be recognized in recovery mode. So I had to put it in download mode. That was the only way it can get recognized, but ADB didn't see it in download mode. The only thing that could see it was Odin. And I didn't want to try to push a dirty flash and operating system on there to try to get it to boot, because I didn't know if it wiped. I researched a lot, and I got both sides. I was like, yes, it will. No, it won't. So I was like, I'm just not going to take the chance.
Especially when you're dealing with sensitive data or data that's important, right? Like,
Yeah.
Anything that's not mine.
So I was researching what my options were to get the data off the phone. It wasn't the SD card data, obviously. It was the stuff that was on the system memory. And I came across this program, which I don't think I'm going to mention on the show.
Yeah, don't.
I'm not. I came across this program that could recover this stuff as long as it's still turned on. It had a mode for specifically broken screens and stuff like that, and where it was in a boot loop, you can still get the data out. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. It had a free version which will scan and show you what it can return, and then you have to pay to actually get the data out. So I used the program, and it scanned, and it found all of her data, and I was like, wow, it works great. And I noticed that when the way it worked was I put the phone in download mode, and then I'd run the program, and the program would sideload its own recovery onto the phone, and then use that recovery to get the data.
Damn.
So I was looking at the recovery, the custom recovery, as it was working. I paid for the app, and I got all the data off, and I was watching as it was working. I was like, it's sideloading its own recovery and getting access to system data. I want to see something. So I open up ADB on my computer and I type ADB shell, and I have root access to the phone. I got instant root to the phone from just using the custom recovery on this.
And it was not a rooted phone.
It was not a rooted phone. You don't have to pay for the app to get the custom recovery on there. That's part of the free thing because it has to scan to show you what it can pull off. And I just thought it was really interesting that suddenly I have root access to this phone that was never rooted. USB debugging was never turned on. I can get, if it was any other phone, I can have complete access to the data on there without knowing the passwords, without knowing anything.
We should test this.
Reverse shell,
Yeah.
you know.
We should test this.
Yeah, and I tested it. I was like, well, let me see if I can pull something off of system memory. So she wanted to have her notes database, which was on system memory. It was in the data folder. If you know Android system, data is where they store all this stuff. So I ADB shell. I had the little hash mark noting, root access, and I was just like,
That's a pound sign for us phone freaks.
Pound sign,
but
yeah.
Whatever.
So I exited, and I did ADB pull data blah 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 database.db, and it pulled it. It pulled all of it, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
Wow.
Interesting.
So yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about that? This is essentially giving you complete access to any phone you can plug in.
And all it needed was that. I wonder if it would work.
You don't need to buy the app because it sideloads the recovery on there.
So it's a free. No, it's not a free app though, right? Or is it?
It's free to scan, but you have to pay for it to get the actual data. It shows you the data that it can pull, but it has to sideload the recovery to show you the data that it can pull.
We should look in that recovery. I wonder what it's doing because that's very interesting that
It's giving itself root somehow.
That's
If that's,
That's
S3,
interesting.
What is it running? What version of Android is it?
That's probably
It was 4.1, I think.
Oh,
4.2,
It was
4.1.
no, it was 4.1.
Okay.
Okay.
It was Jelly Bean.
Well, that kind of makes sense because now you have to unlock it.
You have to
you have to unlock the bootloader before you can get root access.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to like press something. You have to be like, oh yeah, I allow access
Yeah.
to this.
So was
but the app said that it would still work even if that wasn't able, because it has several different modules. This particular module was for apps with phones with broken screens or that were stuck in boot loops.
Wow.
So it's like it's still.
I mean, we should test it this weekend.
We should test.
I know.
it.
I know. Doxy has.
see if it works on
Was
any
the
newer
phone
versions.
encrypted or no? Or
No.
no? All right.
Because I think
Because I think newer, like
Are
it's
all-
just encrypted by default now.
yeah,
Right,
I
yeah.
think everything after
It
six.
is, and that actually becomes a
Yes.
bitch.
Yeah.
To,
I think
to
everything after
fix.
6. But I mean, it'd be interesting to see what it does.
I also noticed that after letting the app sideload the recovery, it tripped the Knox counter on her phone. So
The
what's
what
the
counter?
Knox counter?
On Samsung, like when you root a
yeah.
phone, it trips a bit.
it trips a bit that's
like-
irreversible, and it says basically this person messed with this phone.
Yeah, it
So
voids
it's-
the warranty.
It voids the warranty.
Okay.
So it tripped that Knox bit, which I thought was kind of interesting.
It does.
So
does.
it's essentially just rooting the phone.
Yeah.
But now we need to know
But
how
it's-
though, because it's not the same exploit every time, right? Like you're not going to use.
It roots the phone, and then when it's done doing its thing and it closes the recovery, it unroots it. It brings it back to where it was,
That's-
except the Knox bit is now tripped.
Because if it works on any newer phone, that's very interesting that it can get root on seemingly anything.
Right, and I want to know how that happens because for instance, McNutt and I have the same phone, and we're using the dirty cow exploit to get that root. But then on something like a Samsung, I don't think it's going to be using that same exploit, especially like a Samsung 3.
No, I think Dirty Cow only works for LG and those kinds of phones.
Every Android version prior to January.
Oh,
That was
oh, never mind.
McNutt says every Android version prior to January.
January's security patch.
Oh, this
Oh,
this
yeah,
year's
yeah.
January.
Oh.
Okay.
So how long did it take you to get the data off the phone?
I let it run all night because I pulled everything it could pull.
So you don't know, like it didn't. You woke up and it was all there.
I'm
Yeah.
saying theoretically, if you were to say I were to take Doxy's phone while he was
In the bathroom.
in the back or whatever, taken to deuce or whatever.
I mean, if you just
had to
want,
say deuce.
if you just want like his text messaging database, it's a quick ADB pull. It takes 2 seconds,
Well,
and you can get all of his texts.
don't police officers have like some kind of box they can hook your phone up to and just get
Something like that.
all the
Shit, they might be
things?
using
You
that
can-
app that you're talking about.
I mean, with quick, if you know the ADB pull and you know the paths, you can grab text messages, all the contacts, recent
I'm
call
sure.
lists. You can grab all that within seconds.
Yeah, we should test this out. I'm very interested in this.
Aren't you busy?
This weekend? Oh, yeah, shut up, dude.
Sorry, I don't see you again until like maybe Monday or Tuesday. Actually, now I don't know that. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. I'm sad. I'm sad for reasons that I can't share.
How long did it take you to find it? The program itself.
A couple hours. I was doing a lot of research on how I could do it without using an external program first, and then.
But that was a couple hours with research, right?
Yeah.
So like without research, it's just like, when you know everything that you need to know, it's like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm very curious about, like, I wonder if this would work on my old Xperia Z3.
maybe. I couldn't.
Oh,
tell you.
that was the one phone you couldn't root.
I mean, the root's available now, but it would have been useful back then. You know?
Yeah, he couldn't
The
have
one
root
that
for
got
so
away.
long.
The one that got away.
And so
Yeah.
he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go. What'd you
I think-
switch to from a Z3?
It was the 1 Plus, right? You went to a Z3.
Yeah, it was a 1 Plus.
Oh, okay,
yeah, it was a
okay,
1 Plus.
that's right.
And then I got the 6P.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
because
you're-
I skipped the 6, and then I think I got the 6P. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, excuse
we
me.
should experiment this and maybe make a gray noise video about it.
Yeah, because that's pretty dangerous to just give people root like this to phones that might not even be theirs. I didn't have to put in any password.
Phones that might
I
not
just
be
had to
theirs,
have the
or
phone.
people who are idiots who don't know what to do with root.
Yeah, I just had to have the phone. It didn't care whether or not I knew any passwords or.
That's
or
right.
anything.
There was a password on it, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, right? So the pattern doesn't matter, the password doesn't matter, the swipe lock doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's talk about this later.
Very
Yeah,
interesting.
so
right.
for reasons we just talked about, I'm not going to disclose the name of the app. But
Secret. It's for us only.
It's for just kidding. Anything else? Because if not, I mean, like after this, actually, BGM, I think I need that link unless you want to run lightning round
I
tonight.
gave it.
I
It's in
pulled
IRC.
it up.
Oh shit, my bad. Oh, you
thought I
pulled
was
it
doing
up.
it.
You're doing it. You're doing it. Never mind. I know how
Yeah,
things.
son.
I know how the shows run. All right. Well, do you guys have any aside from us wanting to try it this weekend or wherever? Any other thoughts on this? I think you got Crux's interest. He's like, huh.
I was gonna say. I mean, since we're in the realm of phones, Pixel 2 will be coming out soon.
Yeah.
When is Google I/O? Isn't it later this year?
Google I/O passed. It was in May.
Oh, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry. When is it released though? When is the next?
September probably. September, October.
Usually.
Yeah, that's when
Yeah.
they
In
release
that
their
time
stuff,
frame.
right?
It's.
Are we both getting it? Or
Oh,
I'm,
right.
I'm
Big
definitely
one?
getting
That's
it.
right
We're both
before
gonna
I'm
get
Christmas.
definitely getting it. Yeah. It's rumored. It looks like the LG G6 a lot. Like, so a lot of they're going for the almost bezel-less design. So if you've seen the Pixel or the Pixel XL, it has pretty large bezels for seemingly no reason. But anyway, the Pixel 2 will have very small bezels at the top and the bottom, and then
Are they doing 2 sizes this year?
Dibs on
they're
the
doing
blue one.
they're doing two sizes.
Dibs on the blue one.
Yes, but what's weird so far, like these are all rumors, but it seems that the first year Pixel and Pixel XL were identical besides size. This year they're different because the Pixel small one still has giant bezels, and it has less features, so to say. Pixel XL 2 has small bezels and other things. I don't know about any waterproofing but it's also rumored to not have a headphone jack. So if you are super into headphone jacks, you're kind of shit out of luck. Which is also kind of shitty
Doing that.
because they made fun of Apple for not having a headphone jack. I can't. I
Exactly.
don't unless it's waterproof or it cut out a lot of expense.
You can have a headphone jack in a phone
You
that's
can.
waterproof.
But that's the
you
only-
just have to shake the water out of it if you.
But that's the only excuse I could see.
But it doesn't actually get past the jacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the only excuse. That's the only reason I could see them saying we made it. We got rid of the headphones for waterproofing.
Wait, wasn't there that Samsung like
S7.
S5 Active though, or something like that?
Yeah,
Where it had like a rubber casing around where the battery was.
So did my
Chen,
Z3.
Stop poking holes in their logic. They just want to look like the iPhone.
So
Dude,
that's
I have no
what-
idea.
But that's what I'm wondering. So like there's already a waterproof phone. Like now you can't go scuba diving with the damn thing, but like it was safe in the shower, or
can-
it was safe, you know.
like Splash or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can
Yeah,
absolutely
I mean,
do waterproofing.
no, you
without
could
it.
like dunk it in.
The girl, I know she was basically she'd use it in the pool and like intentionally dunk it, and
Oh, wow.
and it worked fine.
Yeah, my Z3 had waterproofing and it had a headphone jack. But that's the only excuse I can see them using, saying we took it away for better waterproofing, maybe. I don't know. That's a thing. But also the iPhone 8, or whatever the new iPhone's going to, iPhone S7, 7S, maybe, whatever, is also going to be like bezel-less, kind of like the S8. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what that looks like as well. It kind of looks like, have you seen the Essential phone?
No.
The Essential phone
heard it.
is made by the co-creator of Android, Andy Rubin, I want to say.
Rubin? Yeah,
Andy
yeah.
Rubin, and this phone that's like bezel-less. It's a huge thing now. But all it has is like a...
I think you just like saying that word.
No, I hate it.
Bezel-less.
Bezel.
But it has a little cutout at the top for the camera, for the front-facing camera. So it looks very, like it's like flush all around, except for this little point at the top. There's a camera poking out, which I think is very
At
strange.
the top of
At
the
the
phone?
top, like your front-facing camera.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's like all flush, but then at the top there's a little camera, which I think is weird, but whatever. But it kind of looks like the iPhone 8, supposedly. These are all rumors. I have no idea. But next month we'll know for sure. So
Yeah.
soon.
So it's supposed to have squeezable edges, apparently.
Oh yeah, like the HTC U11, I want to say.
Yeah.
What does that do?
So you squeeze, like you can set the squeeze to like take a screenshot or open an app or do anything. You can, it's like another, like you know the Bixby button on the S8. You press the button and Bixby comes out.
Yeah.
It's like that, but you squeeze it and then you can program it to do something.
Holy shit!
Open an app, take a picture.
Imagine how many times you're gonna accidentally open that app.
Yeah, you're pulling your phone out of your pocket and just
every
like,
single
oh,
time.
I just launched my porn.
Yeah,
But
every
or
single
whatever.
time.
phones have buttons on the side.
All the time on the side.
Is it different than that? Or?
So you
Is
can
it different
set
than
your phone
buttons?
to where
Well,
you
it's-
squeeze it.
Hey,
What
man.
are you talking about? The
Grip
squeeze
of
it?
death. Sorry.
Like I have 3 buttons on the side of my
Rhythm.
phone.
No, it's like there's no buttons. It's just, you squeeze the actual frame of the phone, and it registers that as a
So
input.
instead of having buttons, they just made it so you squeeze the phone.
Yes.
Okay.
That's so weird.
So instead of that
The
extra
phone,
button,
the phone itself is a button now.
yeah. So instead of having that extra button on the side, you squeeze it, and that's your button.
How's that, Doxy? Sorry.
I don't know what
Well,
that is.
while we're
Jared.
on the topic of phones, have you read anything about the Red Hydrogen One, the $1,200
I saw
phone
that
with
actually.
the crazy camera, the holographic display?
I haven't seen it because it's very closed off right now, but I've
what it
seen like
says.
videos of it and whatnot, and I don't know if it's gonna be worth it, but it looks okay, I guess. Looks like a giant.
I want to know what it's huge, but I want to know what a holographic display is.
Yeah, it has a holographic display. I don't know what that means really, but I want to see it. But it's also like what, $1,200, right? So
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean,
it's made by the people who make like IMAX cameras, so the camera on it's also super good.
Okay. But see, I feel like with all these like super nice phones, like luxury phones, it has like this one great feature, but then the rest of the phone is shit.
It says it's a holographic display that takes simple 2D footage and produces a 3D effect. That sounds like the Nintendo 3DS, to be honest.
Which was cool, but whatever.
But Marcus Brownlee reviewed it.
Yeah. He's my spirit animal. Okay, lightning round.
All right, yeah, sure. For those of you who don't know do you want to do that?
No, go for it.
Okay.
You're already in it.
For those of you who don't know what the lightning round is, we just take the headlines from our, I guess, new news source. Now, what is this source?
This is infosecurity-magazine.com/news.
All right, so we're going to take our InfoSec news from there today and see if this is good headlines. So we'll take the headlines, give a tweet's length of our opinion. Remember that we want to encourage you to do your research on the news. We don't want to tell you what to think or how to think. So we're going to discuss the headlines, but you do your research. You figure it out.
This is just to get the brain wheels turning.
Yeah, the brain wheels.
Make the listeners do it.
Make the
Yeah.
listeners do it.
Do the work. Okay. Who's going first?
Let's just go in order.
I'll go
Fine.
first. I'll go first.
No, so we're going to go that order. All right,
way,
cool.
okay.
This way?
Or,
Okay.
okay.
First one, 1,000 plus Sonic spy apps spread fresh Android spyware.
Through the marketplace, it's just it's the same thing every day, every time.
SOP?
It's just rogue apps in the marketplace because Google doesn't like to say no to anybody.
Wait, you mean L-Tunes isn't a legitimate app?
The fuck is L-Tunes?
It's lowercase L.
Oh, lowercase L-Tunes. I get it.
That's the joke.
Sorry. Okay. Hashtag. I get it now. Hashtag SOP.
Lowercase J tunes.
This is being combated in the newer versions of Androids. They have something called Google Play Protect now. So it's like a virus scanner that's always on in your Play Store.
What?
So as you're downloading and you have apps on your phone, it works for.
Man, I'm gonna download from unknown sources.
It works
bro.
for it works
I'm
for
old school.
It works for unknown sources as well. Any app that's loaded onto your phone, it scans it. You just get the notification through the App Store, but it works for side-loaded apps as well.
Oh shit.
So they are working to
I
fix
have
this.
to have my latest flashlight app.
You know?
I need an app for the flashlight to just turn on the LED and also download a whole bunch of malware.
You never know.
Oh, why does this flashlight app need access to text messages, contacts, data,
Or
camera.
camera, microphone,
legit. Allow.
microphone?
Yeah, that's fine. All right.
Yeah.
I think it's Apartment 28, but APT 28 mounts spy campaign using hotel networks.
It uses the external Blue exploit, and it collects information from hotel guests of interests.
Of interest, like everybody.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
interested in that fine lady.
Proxy when you're on a hotel connection?
Yeah, especially in a hotel. I mean, pretty much anywhere you're not familiar with the network.
Any public Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
you
but
should proxy. Any public internet connection.
Definitely.
And spoof your
definitely
MAC
hotel.
address.
Okay.
No, I think just
Doesn't
proxying
matter.
is fine.
Yeah, I think just
That's Layer
Sorry,
2.
I was just getting paranoid there. My bad. Oh wait, I fucking missed you. Sorry.
He's thinking. He's
Yeah,
thinking.
I got nothing. Something behind 7 proxies. I don't know. Whatever.
Something proxy chain. Something.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I had.
Cyber attack volume doubled in first half of 2017.
Honeypot. Honeypot.
Yeah.
Honeypot. Honeypot.
So,
Honeypot.
I mean, I know we're not supposed to discuss, but I feel like this is just. It's going to keep increasing as people get more access to the
I was
internet.
going to say this is par for the course. I think.
Yeah, as like more.
This is the Moore's law of cyber attacks.
More script kidding get access to the internet and whatnot. They're going to start attacking things just because they can. Attacking whatever. I feel like it's going to happen. It's going to keep going up as more people get access to the internet and whatnot. Better access to the internet, rather. I think. I have no idea.
See, these cyber attacks, they go to 11. There's one more.
Fuck, I don't get that reference.
No, I'm the drummer of this group.
New kids don't know anything.
No. We can't make that reference because I'm the drummer of this group.
Learn the culture, Chin.
My bad. Yeah, for all the shit that I said in the beginning of the show. All right, next article.
Thingbots set to underpin the darknet of the future.
What?
I don't know what a thingbot is, but it's talking about IoT botnets, so I'm assuming it's related.
Oh, so the botnet's gonna be okay.
So
like
here's the under. What's the second headline called? The underline.
The
The
subtitle.
The subtitle, whatever.
Yeah.
The headline under the headline. Although IoT botnets like Mirai are known for launching DDoS attacks, they're also being used in vigilante thingbots.
I don't know what a thingbot is, though. What's a thingbot? Anybody know what a thingbot is? Anybody?
I think thingbots are just what they're calling it, maybe. I don't.
So like IoT or Internet of Things wasn't enough? Now it's a
Maybe
thing
not.
bot?
Maybe not.
Internet of Things bot.
IoTB, bitches.
Oh,
Maybe-
maybe a thingbot is a botnet with IoT devices.
I think an IoT comprised of. I think a botnet comprised of IoT devices is a thingbot.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
It's like feedback.
Maybe a Thingbot is a botnet comprised of IoT devices.
That's what I'm going with.
I think
That's what I'm
Craig's has
going
got
with.
it.
Yeah.
I think
That's
Craig's
what
has
I'm
got
going with.
Didn't you say it that way?
That's.
Or that's the joke?
That's the joke.
Fuck, I'm sorry, okay? My bad. I'm here. I'm here. I
right.
promise I'm here.
So
Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Mine was going to be, aren't vigilante thingbot just thingbots with a red beret on it?
Well, if it's a vigilante thingbot, wouldn't it be like a Batman thingbot?
I feel like for it to be a thingbot, it has to be a vigilante or be used for vigilante purposes.
What? Why?
Because that seems to be.
No, but a thingbot could be used for malicious purposes, not necessarily vigilante. When you think of vigilante, you're thinking like do-gooders who still.
No.
Like-
What?
You know, vigilante, like they take the law into their own hands.
Wait,
et
is
cetera,
this
et
a
cetera.
Red Bull versus Alliance thing?
Red Bull versus Lions?
Rebel.
Oh, maybe. Dude, I don't.
I was going back to like Guardian Angels. That's what my reference was. With the red berets. They used to go on the New York subways.
I mean, all right.
I don't know.
Wait, how many articles is that?
That one more.
One more.
Okay, one more. Malware-laden DNA could attack lab machines. What the fuck?
So I actually read a little bit about this the other
Cheater.
day. No, not right now. The other day.
I'm reading it right now.
So these researchers were able to program malware into synthetic DNA so that when you try to map the DNA, when you try to read it, it messes up all the machines that are trying to attempt to read it. So I thought it'd be pretty cool if Skynet takes this and puts it in their Terminator skin, so that in the past when they try to read, like, oh, how'd they make this really cool synthetic skin that's able to go back in time and cover all this metal? Instead, it installs ransomware. And
that's the worst possible outcome.
Ransomware
from the future.
That's the worst possible outcome.
Yeah, that's
all your data will be deleted unless you deliver us one man.
Definitely the worst.
John Connor. John Connor. I got it.
Unless you deliver us one
got it.
John Connor.
But I feel like that's the worst possible outcome. But also, that's incredible that you can put malware in DNA.
That's crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I did see that article the other day. So it's
fucking
not
cheaters.
what I'm not cheating. I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
You know
Malware
what you guys should
DNA
do?
now.
Just don't read the internet until the show on Friday.
Dude, that's 6 days of.
What, you have nothing else to do.
Yes, I do. I have plenty of things to do, and it's all on the internet.
It's all very serious.
Of all very serious things.
Chen, why don't you just play video games for the next 6 days?
Right?
You have to catch up.
No
Yeah,
Man's Sky
Clearly.
is out.
We
gotta-
talked about this earlier.
No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy, Nier,
Play them all.
Neo,
All of them.
Actually,
So
now that I
much.
think about it, I have no idea what I do online.
Overwatch.
Play them all. Ignore the internet. Pretend it doesn't exist.
All right, and then I'll be ready for the lightning round.
Perfect. All right, that's the last one.
That's the last one. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of the lightning round. We actually did pretty good with the whole tweets like thing, which brings us to the end of the show. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but not out of shit to say. Or yeah, we never run out of shit to say. So join us again next week. Same great time, same great channel here at 7:30. We are at the Sin Shop. Go to sinshop.org for more information. Remember, we are at 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in Henderson, Nevada. If you are in the audience right now, we do have a lockpick night on Monday. I'm trying to make it a really big one. It's going to go from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to be here hanging out. I believe there will be food. I'll make it so that there will be food if that entices you. And sure, we'll have drinks. Anyway, for more information on meetups of that nature, go to...
helps you lockpick, you know.
Yes, and we'll be lockpicking. We'll be lockpicking things. You know.
I got to say, hold on.
Well, it's kind of the bummer's curve.
Learning how to lockpick while you're swerving a little bit is a necessary skill, I feel.
Yeah, you got to relax. You got to relax.
It was key for winning Mystery Challenge.
Yeah,
you had to have a couple of beers before you
side
get the
note,
locks
really,
open.
side note though, like when people are picking locks, like sometimes they use too much force. Maybe the beer or the drinks will actually relax you a
I
little
doubt
bit.
that's how
I think it's the
beer works
opposite.
the opposite.
I'm pretty
Fine,
sure it's the
whatever. We'll
opposite.
see.
Does beer
We'll
help
see.
with lockpicking?
We'll find out.
Find
I'll tell you
out.
what,
Just may surprise you.
yes.
Or will it?
We'll use the scientific method on Monday. Anyway, so if you want to be a part of that, remember we are here Monday night, 6 p.m. to 10. And if you're listening to this in post, it was a great evening, as always. All right. For more information on that meetup, go to meetup.com/sinshop. And for more information on us, go to GREYNOISE, GREYNOI.se. My name is Master Chen.
My name is BGM.
This is Doxy.
And I'm Richard Satchel.
Good night, everybody.
Dick Satchel.
Thank you.